Hey everybody, Coach Troy here. Now, I did break and I ended up purchasing a 7800 Plus. They had good Black Friday deals and I'm not made of stone. So with that being said, I figured I would go over a list of my personal favorites. That's right, this is my top 10 list for 7800 games. Now as kids, we always looked at the box art to see which games would be the best. And while that was sometimes misleading, it's what we did. That's all we had to go by. Nintendo Power only came out every now and again. And believe it or not, there was a time before the internet. In the dark, dark days of the long, long ago. Now, knowing this vital information, Atari did a very, very important thing and they made sure that all their labels were exciting. Yeah, this Pac-Man game, it's slightly different because look at that, black background to white words. Whereas everything else was just this gray silver background with black lettering. Now if you did pick up a Super Game cart, you'd have the red lettering, that's how you knew it was good. Even non-Atari games really didn't try terribly hard. I think they knew what this system was all about. Double Dragon here reminds me of the government-issued food I'd get. Yes, I ate crisp rice as a child. Don't judge me. So with all this going on, it might be hard to tell which games are good and which games are bad, right? Your tried and true method isn't there. So I'm going to tell you the definitive list of the very best games, hands down, no argument. This is science, man. Okay, maybe not quite. It's just what I like to play. Now, a little caveat here, these are only going to be the older games, the original run, all that good crap. I haven't played any of the homebrews, sadly. I need to get on that. And even these newer ones by Atari, like Bonnie Bob and Bentley Bear, haven't played those yet. They haven't arrived at my house. Here we go. At number 10, we got the original Floppy Bird. That's right, Joust. And this port version is one of the best. Now, while the graphics look decent, the sound is it's alright, but it's serviceable. Or the part of it that you can't really see, but I can only try to describe to you, is the control. It is so fluid. Now, the 2600 version of this game was very, very good. I think they outdid themselves. But the 7800 version does even better. This puts the NES version to shame. So again, it looks pretty good. Sounds okay, but the play and the control, that is the key here. It is so good, so fluid. If you like this game in the arcade and you want to take it home, this was the version to get. Now my number 9 is going to be one that might be controversial to some because you either love or hate this game, it seems like. I kind of love it. So Galaga is my favorite arcade game to play. If I'm in the arcade and I got choices, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go to that Galaga machine. That being said, this port is not a perfect port. It plays a little bit different here. Now the action is a little bit slowed down, the sound is not quite there. It's good, but it's not quite there. The graphics are chunkier than they should be. Something about them, they just look chunky. And the gameplay for the first 9 levels, 10 levels or so, it's just a bit slow. It's not terribly challenging. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a big confidence booster, and that's why I like this version. After level 10, though, it does pick up and does get more difficult. Of course, all your fun Galaga stuff is there. You got your challenging stages, and you can save a captured ship to get that nice double shot. And that's why I like this one a lot. One of my favorites in the arcade. One of my favorites at home, Galaga. And that is possibly one of the greatest intros to any game ever. My number 8, Midnight Mutants. Now this is a game that I didn't play much, or actually ever as a child. I didn't even know about it until recently. And a lot of you might be saying, no, this is a top game. This is a number 1, and I may put it higher. I probably will put it higher, but I gotta get a little bit more time with it. As of right now, this game is a little bit difficult. This is an adventure game. You're going to be traveling around. This is so much different than anything else on the 7800, and I really like it for that. I really hope that now that we got all these homebrews, someone's going to come up with something a little bit more like this. Now, the premise is quite unique. You got to save Grandpa from an ancient witch's curse. And to do that, you got to travel around, pick up potions, pick up weapons, kill all kinds of course, bats, mandatory bats, but other zombies and creatures as well. Again, I haven't gotten too far into this one, but it's still good enough for what I have seen to make it into the top 10, and I'm sure it's going to climb higher. While this may be entirely too expensive now to try to buy, if you do find a copy and you're somehow able to grab it, I'd say go for it. My number 7 is the First Lady of Gaming. That's right, Miss Pac-Man. Now, yes, Pac-Man was trash on the 2600, but Miss Pac-Man picked it up big time, became one of the best games on the system, arguably. Not even arguably. You try to argue that, we're gonna fight. And man, did they step it up for the 7800. You got cutscenes and all. I mean, who can appreciate a good love story? This is just quality gaming. But the sound, looks, and control in this game are all fantastic. If you want to play Miss Pac-Man at home, this is the way to go. In number 6, we've got Alien Brigade. Now this is another one, it's a little bit different. It is a light gun game, or you can use the controller. Aliens are coming down, and it's your job as a military man to pretty much make them all explode into goo. This game is fairly graphic with exploding body parts and whatnot, but it also doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's got a little bit of silliness in it. Oh yes, you can use the light gun, but you can also use the controller, and I actually kind of like the controller, so if you got that newer TV, if you're not playing on the CRT, then you definitely can pick this one up. This is probably Atari's answer to Operation Wolf. I think it actually is more fun than Operation Wolf. I'd take this one over that any day. Lots of fun, lots of levels, lots of explosion, and alien green gooness. Is that a thing? Well, it is now. So if you need to kill things to pass the time, then I would suggest Alien Brigade. Alright, now into the top 5. This is the good stuff. And we're going to start off with probably the best version of this arcade classic in Asteroids. Sure, you don't have the vector graphics, but what you do have here is pretty much amazing. This game looks so good. Again, the Atari 7800 was great at holding a lot of sprites, and you can tell, look at all of what is going on this screen. Yes, your spaceship here just does look like a basic little triangle, but it controls so well. It feels so much more powerful than it looks as you blast and destroy these giant chunks of rock. This game also does include Little Alien, so watch out for that little sucker. He can be annoying. And if you're lucky enough to have some to play with, you've got an awesome two-player mode. A couple awesome two-player modes, competitive or cooperative. So be sure to check those out. And number 4, we've got a lesser-known arcade port in Food Fight. While not as big of a hit in the arcade, this is an awesome game to bring home. It controls so well, it looks pretty good, sound is decent, you know, it's still a 7800. But the fun factor in this one is pretty dang high. As you know, right now I work in a school, so I often dream of taking chunks of food and flinging it across the cafeteria myself. Of course, I can't do that. I have to be the role model. It's a little simplistic with that black background, but the control is solid, and it's just fun to watch those chefs fly. Instant replays add a little bit more fun to it, and again, if you just want to waste some time chucking some nanners around, well, this is the game for you. And in third place, we have Commando. The perfect game to play while you're not wearing underwear. This game has had a ton of different ports, and this is one of my favorites. It even rivals the Commodore 64 version, so I think it controls better, but man, what can compete with the Commodore SID chip? I'll tell you what can. This game can, because it has the souped-up sound chip in this card. That's right. This is a little bit hard to find because a lot of these cartridges were actually cannibalized, fun fact, and people would take out the chip and use it for different homebrews. But if you're lucky enough to come across one that is still intact, this game is solid. Again, the 7800 showing off its power and having all these different sprites on screen. The game moves at a decent pace. You've got power-ups in the form of the assault rifle and the knife if you want to feel extra stabby. Again, some people might argue on which version of this is their favorite, but for me, this one is definitely at the top. So much fun. I love it. That is Commando. And number 2, if you watch my channel, you might think this is number 1, but, well, you know. In truth, any of the top 5 could be at any position on any particular day, depending how I'm feeling. But today, Centipede is my number 2. I do love me some Centipede. For some reason, I really love the home port versions, too. The 2600 version, despite its being extremely simple looking, is one of my absolute favorite games to play. And this 7800 version, it takes that and just makes it better. The graphics, just a ton better. This is so much better to look at. The only downside I have is that stupid spider. The sound of that spider is one of the most horrendous, nails on a chalkboard, irritating sounds ever. If it wasn't for that, that'd probably be a number 1 game for me. But still, man, I love playing this game. So much fun. The action is fast-paced. You don't need the trackball either. The controller does just fine and moving around. You move super fluid, super smooth. And if you want a great backstory, I swear, read the manual, man. Read the manual for Centipede. That is an acid trip. Well, maybe not acid. I think mushrooms would probably be more fitting in this particular situation. And if you are lucky enough to have a second player, this has got some of the coolest 2-player modes of all time. Competitive or cooperative. Check them out. They are such a blast. If you've got a second player, this game is definitely tops. And lastly, in the number 1 position, we've got Robotron 2084. And I can't think of a better game to highlight the power of the 7800 than this game here. Look at that screen. Look what is going on. And also look how there is no flicker. That's right, no sprite flicker, despite there being about 10,986 different figures on that screen. This game looks so good. It controls so good. It is just like the arcade game. And such a blast. If you want to shoot stuff, if you need to take out a little bit of rage, this is the game for you. Is it telling that this is in my number 1 spot? Maybe I'm an angry person. Maybe I need to relax a little bit. Here's the trick, though. It is my number 1, but there's definitely a caveat because there is the control. There's 2 ways you can play this game. We're shooting straight in front of you, but boo, that is boring and basic. 2 joysticks, however, you can control the guy and you can control where you're shooting. Now, here's what I do when I play. I'll take one controller in the left hand, and I can move it around like that. See, I gotta hold it a little strange, but hey, it works. And then, joystick, right hand, hold that down, and then I can move around there. A little tricky. You can actually squeeze the base of this controller between your knees to get a little bit more control. Don't judge me. And there we go. Those are my top 10 games for the Atari 7800. I know I missed some. Some of you guys are going to say, where is Ninja Golf? It's not in my top 10. That's where it isn't. But that being said, outside of this top 10, there's still so many great games to check out. So these are just my suggestions. If you got a 7800, you picked up that 7800 Plus, try to pick up some of these games. Play them and let me know what you think. Also, let me know what your top 10 is. What do you got in there? What's your number 1? Was it anything I said here? Was my list completely wrong? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this list. Again, let me know what your favorites are. This is Coach Troy. I'll see y'all next time.